Alrighty, and good morning everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm doing things right before work. I have about 5 minutes before I need to leave to work, so I'm going to try and get through this as best as I can. Was delayed in editing this and posting it, mostly because I managed to brain myself at work yesterday, and so I have a nice little 3.5 inch gash going down my head. Would not stop bleeding yesterday. I probably needed to get stitches, but I didn't get stitches. I basically got home from work and I just went to bed early. Anyways, I am bringing you this. These teams didn't change a whole lot as I was going through and recording and testing all of this, so it was very interesting to note that it's starting to stabilize for this specific Dream Realm boss, the Necrodakon. And to preface, let me just say that this was on the Elite difficulty, the second iteration. We have not yet gone through and gotten a fully established comp for this. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So this was the main setup. Unfortunately, most of these teams today do require a Reinier. I just was not able to do nearly as much damage. If I took out Reinier, it was instantly 600 to 800, or I guess 0.6 to 0.8 less damage on any single one of the comps I did. So I just didn't try to run them just because it wasn't as efficient for me for testing purposes. So this is with Quickblades. They were able to survive pretty much the whole time. I think it was about 20 seconds left, which, you know, for Necrodakon, that was pretty good. And then again, the scores, they were doing very, very well here. All about even for them, these three. And then Marilee, of course, is the main damage carry for this one. The biggest thing is I tried using more of the standard like Coco comp. I tried using Coco, I tried using Smokey off-screen, and it just did not do well just because you need characters that are mobile and able to move. So because of that, my Kruger and my Reinier were the first ones to die. Then it was either my Marilee or my Temesia were next, and Korin actually was usually my last character alive just because he was able to continually keep applying shields. So this boss is very RNG dependent just because of everybody's moving around, and so where he is placing his little circle pools that are doing the DOT damage, that is dependent. So sometimes it's just hitting one character, sometimes it's hitting 3 characters, so your characters, their lives are dying a little bit faster, and so it's like, okay, there's quite a bit of RNG here. But this was the first comp. Then we have the second comp, which I tried the Evocation spell, and so I was able to stay alive quite a bit longer with this, and so it was a significant increase in damage. Again, it was just mostly Marilee was getting the increase in damage because she was able to stay alive longer. So it's like, alright, sweet. That was nice. Then I tried it again, but with Rhys, and it was actually fairly close in damage. So basically I replaced Korin. I wasn't able to survive quite as long, but Rhys just did a whole lot more damage. Hold on one moment. Alright, I'm back. That was my alarm telling me it's time to go. So as you could see here, Rhys just did a whole lot of damage. So basically, he did a lot of damage in a shorter amount of time, but then they died faster. So it was like, okay, it was almost equal to that offset. And then for the next one, I tried a different formation with Alsa, and this one I just was not able to survive. Temesia was able to provide some damage reduction, tank some of the hits, and so without that, I wasn't able to quite survive long enough. I wondered if I had maybe scooted Rhys and Alsa over and moved Kruger up one, if he could have tanked a little bit of more damage, then maybe this comp might have been a little bit better. But also did fairly decent amount of damage. They were all doing well here. It's just a matter of, hey, Alsa's magic damage, while the other two are not. It wasn't quite as effective for that run. Then I tried another comp. I was like, okay, maybe if I took out Kruger and I threw in a Korin, maybe they'd survive a little bit longer. But again, I just wasn't able to survive at all without Temesia being in the front line tanking some of the damage. The damages were all, you know, fairly high damages, but they just could not survive. So I was like, okay, maybe I'd try something like this in the future with healing artifacts. Maybe that might survive, help them offset that amount. And if they're able to stay alive, they're all damage dealers, so so that'd be for another future one. Then I was like, all right, maybe I'll try Shakir with his damage healing aura. Yeah, they just instantly deleted it. It was my lowest one. I was like, okay, that did not go well. All right, we'll try it again later. Then we have this attempt right here, where I was like, all right, I'm gonna try bringing a double tank instead of Kruger for the defense reduction. I'm gonna be bringing in Thoran for just the straight like damage increase, seasonal skill, and so it did fairly well. Again, it wasn't close to my highest, but it did do well enough. Thoran and Marilee, the damage dealers. This one is, again, I tried changing the formation a little bit, just messing around to see. It's like, all right, instead of a Thoran being on my Reinier, because Reinier was always the first to survive, I was like, maybe I just want to keep my damage dealer alive longer, because Reinier, once once he gets his whatever his debuff on the boss, the debuff is going to stay there for a while. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll try swapping it around, and it was again my highest score. I took the screenshot too quickly, and it doesn't show it here, but it is 2.52 bill here, and so you can see here, Temesia Thoran, that they did a fair amount of damage here. So I was like, all right, sweet, maybe we're on to something here. So I tried messing around with the comp a little bit more. So I tried a different artifact, wasn't able to survive quite as long. So I was like, all right, not gonna try this one, but it was close. And so then we tried again. I was like, all right, maybe I'll try using Vala, who's also mobile, since the bosses don't really have a 50%, so she's just gonna shoot and then basically move and then sword form and then bounce away. So I think that's like, okay, maybe that would help. It didn't do very well, or I guess it did well enough, but it didn't do as well. But the damage looked pretty good, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll try something else with this, because I had thrown Marilee forwards. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll try throwing Vala forwards and see how that does, just because Marilee's damage didn't seem to really increase too much when I had swapped her out and Korin out before in the earlier ones. So I was like, all right, sweet, maybe I'll try throwing it out, and it did do fairly well. And I was like, okay, it did barely just above 2.52 bill, which is, I guess, not that big of a difference over my other one. So I was like, okay, it did do fairly well. And so I was like, okay, the damage, she actually out damaged Marilee. I was like, all right, maybe I'm onto something here. So I kept going. I was like, okay, what if I changed Korin up? And yeah, it didn't do as well that time. And so I was like, all right, maybe I will try something else. So again, Marilee, Vala were about equal there, but they just weren't able to survive long enough. So I was okay, maybe next time in the future I'll try using a healing or tank artifact and see if that'll help offset it. That way I can run it without any sort of healing or supports. Then I tried it again. I swapped it out, throwing a Vala forward without a Thoran, using the Quickblades, but it wasn't able to survive quite as long as I needed it to, so they died rather early, and then that was, I was like, all right, that was the end of that run. So I tried swapping the sides, using, and then with the Evocation one, and I forgot to put it here, but 2.553, so again, just barely this became my highest. So I was like, okay, maybe the sides do matter, because I know typically in the past, if you would put your characters on the right side, the enemies don't tend to attack you as much, but then it's vice versa. If your characters are on the left side, you would tend to attack them just one tick faster. And so I was like, all right, maybe I needed to change this a little bit. Again, on this one, I forgot to put down the damage score on here. I was like, all right, I wasn't able to survive as long with, what's his name, Korin. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll try putting Thoran back in, try to keep my damage alive for even longer. And so as you can see here, that was a noticeable increase in my score, just because I had two debuffers, then I had basically 2 tanks. And so despite Thoran not being mobile, he was able to survive long enough and keep my Marilee long enough. I will say it was very RNG dependent, because I tried again to beat my score and I didn't get close. It was like 2.48 or something like that. It wasn't even close to getting this again. But as you could see, Vala and Marilee did very well, about equal with each other, and so that was my best score yet. So I'm likely in the future, I'm going to try a variation of this comp, but I'll also play with using the healing artifact as well. Then maybe I'll try some of these other comps with a healing artifact and see if maybe that could help offset the survival to damage race. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video there, and I will see you all in the next one.